The area around the city of Aachen has been populated since at least Neolithic times, about 5,000 years ago. But it was for a period of 6 centuries during the Middle Ages that it was the centre of German history. Aachen is in fact a spa town, and as such is entitled to call itself Bad Aachen. But while this name is sometimes found in marketing copy, it was never made official, ensuring that it always gets top billing in any alphabetical list of German cities. The hot springs were inevitably discovered by the Romans, but before them the Celts had lived here, dedicating it to Granus, their god of light, fire and healing. The Romans had left Aachen by the early 5th century, and in their place came the Franks. It was the legendary Charlemagne, king of the Franks, who built an imperial palace here. A small part of it still exists as the easily missed Granus Tower, completed in 788 and now the oldest building in the city. A little later, a chapel was added. It was the tallest domed structure north of the Alps. And while most of the palace no longer exists, the chapel still stands, but now forms the octagon, the central structure of Aachen Cathedral. The choir and side chapels are later additions, mostly Gothic. The oldest parts are the westwork, where the main entrance is, and the octagon, although a few fragments of an earlier Roman building are still present. The 8-sided chapel, with its gallery surrounded by a 16-sided walkway, is inspired by Byzantine and Roman architecture. It was here in the year 936 that Otto I was crowned King of the Germans, the first step to becoming Holy Roman Emperor. The throne that was used is in the gallery and can be seen as part of a guided tour. Another 29 kings were crowned here. This doesn't include Charles IV, who was originally crowned in Bonn, but had to be re-elected and crowned for a second time in Aachen. That leaves Rupert, who had to be crowned in Cologne. Aachen rapidly grew in importance. In 1171, work began on a city wall, the course of which can easily be seen on a street map. But Aachen was growing so fast that very soon a new wall had to be built. 2 of the original 11 city gates of this outer wall still stand. The Ponttor in the north spanned a moat and was protected by a portcullis and, for good measure, the Virgin Mary. In the south, the Marschiertor is incomplete, as part of it was demolished in the 17th century. The militiamen guarding the gates were not well paid and so supplemented their wages by whittling wooden pegs. This earned them the nickname Pin Soldiers, which in turn inspired the name of Aachen's biggest carnival club, which now has its headquarters in the Marschiertor. Whether it was Richard of Cornwall who commissioned this new wall isn't known for certain, but on the occasion of his coronation in 1257 he did make a significant donation towards the cost of the construction of the Grass House, Aachen's first city hall, built to meet the demands of the increasingly influential tradesmen who wanted a say in how the city was run. Its name is a reference to an old village green that was here. Now a paved area in front of the cathedral, it was the city's fish market. You can still see where generations of fishmongers sharpened their knives. But the city hall quickly became too small, and so a new city hall was built and completed in 1349 on the site of the old palace. Its construction was allowed on condition that it included a banqueting hall for coronations. As so often the case with historic buildings, it's not entirely authentic. In particular, a devastating fire in 1883 and then the Second World War both almost destroyed it, but in the 1970s it was rebuilt more or less in its original form. In 1531, the coronation of Ferdinand I was the last to take place in Aachen. After his reign, the ceremony moved to Frankfurt. That's because the Low Countries had been taken over by Spain, leaving Aachen on the very edge of the Holy Roman Empire. This is a tripoint. It's where 3 countries meet: Germany, the Netherlands, and Belgium. In fact, for a brief period, there was another territory here. The Netherlands and Prussia, which was part of the German Confederation, both claimed a patch of land called Moronnais. So in 1816 it was divided between the 2 nations, with a narrow portion in the middle ruled jointly by both. Belgium was created in 1830 and inherited the Dutch part of Moronnais, and from then until 1919 4 countries met at this point, making it a quadripoint. But that's not all, because right here is also the highest point of the Netherlands. Today's Aachen, home to around 250,000 people, extends to the border itself, where it meets the Dutch town of Vaals, which can almost be considered a suburb. Aachen is associated with an entrepreneur called Israel Beer Josaphat. Born in Kassel, he moved to London, converted to Christianity, changed his name to Paul Julius Reuter, and relocated to Aachen in 1850. There, he used carrier pigeons to communicate with Brussels, receiving news from the Paris Stock Exchange faster than the trains could manage. The news agency he founded carries his name to this day. The Industrial Revolution brought needle factories to Aachen. Workers were employed to remove bent needles from the production line, which they did with the little finger of the right hand. This often resulted in deformities by which locals could instantly recognize each other. Even after the textile industry went into decline, the little finger continued to be used as a greeting among Aacheners wherever in the world they happened to meet. Today, Aachen's biggest single employer is the university, with 10,000 staff and 45,000 students, making it Germany's largest technical university. And so, this ancient city that witnessed the birth of German history and culture is also of great significance for its future.
I'd like to say a very big thank you to the Aachen Cathedral chapter for their help in the making of this video. Entry to the Octagon is free, but if you want to take photographs or indeed video, there is a small fee to be paid, and that rule is quite strictly enforced. If you'd like to enter the choir or any of the side chapels or see the throne, you will have to take a guided tour. As mentioned in the video, Aachen is close to the borders with Belgium and the Netherlands. It's easily reached by road from Cologne, the Ruhr area, Liège and Brussels. Aachen's central station is a stop for long-distance trains from Frankfurt, the Ruhr area, Liège, Brussels and Paris. Usually though, you'll probably travel to Cologne and get a local train from there. You can also get to Aachen by long-distance coach, but these stop a fair way out of the centre, usually near Aachen West station. I found the buses rather confusing and even managed to get on the wrong bus at one point. Things get even more confusing because there are also Dutch and Belgian buses operating in the city, but I can tell you that German tickets are valid on German buses that cross the border into Wals, and there are also special international tariffs available. Also, the bus station is a long way from the train station, which is very unusual in Germany. If you want to visit the Tri-Point, you can do what I did and go for a nice long walk through some very nice countryside, although the start of the footpath is very well hidden in a residential area. It's actually easier to get to from the Dutch side. The Aachen City bus number 33 terminates at the foot of the hill, and from there it's a fairly bracing walk up to the Tri-Point. Just follow these signs. Alternatively, you can drive all the way to the Tri-Point itself, and Aachen City sightseeing buses also stop there. Incidentally, this didn't come across in the video, but there's a surprising amount to see at the Tri-Point. There are cafes, a viewing tower, even a labyrinth. Germany, Belgium and the Netherlands are all EU member states and are all in the Schengen area, so there are no passport controls and no customs checks on any of the borders. Also, you won't have the problem that I had in Constance with my phone connecting to a non-EU carrier. You can leave data roaming switched on without fear of running up a massive bill. I stayed at the Ibis Hotel Hauptbahnhof at the central station, although to be honest, on reflection, I probably should have chosen somewhere a bit closer to the centre. It is a 2-star hotel, but it's not one that's branded Ibis budget. It's slightly more expensive, but it does have a proper bar and a much better breakfast. And I do appreciate a better breakfast. Thanks for watching. If you'd like to send me a postcard, here's the address. And don't forget to visit my website and follow me on Twitter and Facebook. Also, if you'd like access to special bonus content and help with the costs of running this channel, please consider making a small monthly donation on Patreon.